Our esteemed guest is a senior fellow member of the Institute of Bankers of Sri Lanka and holds a Master of Business Administration specialized in marketing. He is also a past chairman of Bankers Technical Advisory Committee, which functions under the purview of Sri Lanka Bankers Association. Mr. Fernando is a qualified 4-beat leader trainer and is the National Training Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Scout Association. He also functions as the group advisor to the group committee of St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia. Sir, we are profoundly honored to have you with us here today, and we are warmly welcome you to deliver this lecture. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Could I check with somebody whether I am audible?
Yes, Mr. Nanda, I'm Dr. Hemanta here. Yes, good afternoon. Yes, you are audible and slide sharing is very clear.
Thank you very much, Doctor. So I'm honored to address you all, the undergraduates of KDU. Let me very briefly tell you my session plan for the next 75 minutes. I will start with my journey of life very briefly so far, and thereafter let me extract the useful points I experienced which helped me to reach where I am today. I will thereafter tell you how you could blend some of them to your journey as appropriate as you go on. So I believe that you all are currently engaged in different fields of education, and the purpose of this meeting today is to see how you can apply some of the things which I have felt useful in my career. So as our compere said, I started my career at Hat National Bank and been at Sampath from the inception. I took up the position of Managing Director 6 years ago, and currently have been in the banking industry both at HNB and Sampath Bank for 40 years. So if I touch upon a little of my personal story, I started schooling at St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, where I had the early opportunity to join the Scout movement at the age of 10 years. Very soon, after a few months, I got the opportunity to take leadership roles in Scouting. In Scouting, for your information, like the houses in a school, we do have small groups of boys called patrols of 8 boys each, and each patrol has a leader called the patrol leader. And when all patrols are together, they are called the troop, which was about 75 to 100 at that time, and the leader of that is called troop leader. And the founder of Scouting's objective was to make young children good citizens, and for that the Scouting activity helps young children to take leadership roles and get life experiences early during their lifetime as students of schools and during the youth, so that they becomes very handy as they go on. So as a patrol leader, I got the good opportunity to lead small groups, initially groups of 8, then a troop at about 100 scouts. And then at the district level, I had the opportunity to lead several schools at Patakol Camporees, leading about 1,500 students or fellow scouts uh, at approximately the age of 19 years. And then I, got continuous opportunities. I believe these opportunities came through my way by practicing leadership, which I started as a young boy at the age of 10. So, as a scout, I have led small groups to go on mountain climbing, camping in almost all the jungles in Sri Lanka, hiking a lot, and taking and facing many, many challenges. So, as a young scout, I had the good opportunity of meeting a lot of challenges during my expeditions, and these challenges gave a lot of opportunity to seek how to resolve these challenges, and these experiences became very handy as I grew on and took responsibilities at a higher level. So uh, I think these opportunities became very handy, and facing challenges is one of the most prominent ways how you could gather experience, experiment your ability, skill of practicing leadership, and so on. And I would say the last year was the greatest year where I have ever faced the toughest challenges in my 40-year banking career. That is due to the Sri Lanka going into sovereign default. There were a lot of challenges which came up, and so far we have managed them very, very successfully. So, therefore, as you aspire to function, select different fields of life after you go from your university life and graduating, you must be little familiar with regard to several of things which can make your life different between an ordinary person and an extraordinary person. So that is why I feel that some of the things I may touch upon will be very, very handy for you as you go on in life. I will now start and show you a small video.
Ibrahim Hamato. Meet Ibrahim Hamato, an Egyptian para-table tennis champion. He is the man with the heart of a lion and incredibly strong willpower. He fought every odd, overcame every obstacle, and ultimately became not just a table tennis sensation, but also an inspiration to the world. At just 10 years of age, a horrifying train accident cost Ibrahim both his arms. The adjustment back to daily life wasn't easy by any means, but the accident didn't stop him from becoming an international sports star. Ibrahim's journey highlights his motto in life that nothing is impossible. Just 3 years after the accident, Ibrahim started playing ping pong. At first, he tried holding the racket under his arm, but it didn't work out. After trying different options, Ibrahim found himself playing with his mouth. In 2011, the ITTF invited him to the World Team Table Tennis Championship in Tokyo to play with the best of the best, including Hyun Mitsani, Wayne Howell, Vladimir Samsonov, Malang, and others. Jen Bricker.
I think walking by faith and not by sight has really helped me get through my entire life.
What would you do if you found out that your childhood idol is actually related to you? Crazy, right? Now imagine it being your sister. Sounds weird, I know. Now you probably think these things only happen in movies, but this is where you were wrong, because that's exactly what happened to Jennifer Bricker, an American acrobat and aerialist. You see, Jennifer was born without legs due to a non-hereditary birth defect. She was given up for adoption at birth and grew up not knowing anything about her biological family. She only knew that her ethnicity was Romanian. Despite her disability, Jennifer excelled in gymnastics from a very young age, and her childhood idol was a Romanian gymnast named Dominique Mosino. Later in life, Jennifer made a life-changing discovery when she found out that her biological last name was Mosino, which meant that her childhood idol was, in fact, her sister. When they finally met each other, they discovered that the similarity didn't end with gymnastics. They look alike, sound alike, and their mannerisms are the same. Despite being born with what some might see as a disability, Jen has spent her life showing that nothing is impossible with the right mindset.
So this video shows that even though both this gentleman and the lady was physically partially disabled, they have become successful role models in the industry they chose. So the lack of hands and the lack of legs to this lady and gentleman did not limit them reaching the full potential of gymnastics and table tennis what they have chosen. So this goes on to say that little, not only little disabilities, lack of skills, but even great disabilities doesn't make your path an obstruction as long as you practice a few mandatory important fundamentals if you are to reach success. So therefore, I would say whenever you receive an opportunity, take up the leadership whenever possible. Don't wait for you to be called upon to take leadership roles. The successful leader or the entrepreneur goes behind, strives to achieve the leadership opportunities which could be grabbed from the society or the employer or the area to which he or she is attached. Therefore, whatever the area you select as your employment or as a business, it is very important that you plan your work and work your plan. Planning helps you to minimize your failures, and working your plan enables you to ensure that you complete the steps without missing any of the cardinal points. It also helps you to do a particular action or a task within the time you plan or even before, and is obviously one of the success. And planning your work and working your plan is something I myself has done in a great dedicated way, I must say, from the very first days I started uh, playing this leadership roles at the age of 10. And in doing so, managing your time is very, very critical, because if you don't manage your time, you you do not know as to how long you will take to complete your exercise. So therefore, when one starts beginning of the day, you must have a plan for that day. And ideally, that plan should be drafted minimum or at least the day before the day is dawn. So when you come into the university, when you go into employment, when you go into an entrepreneurship, you must manage your time effectively. You must have a plan, allocate different timings for the subtopics, and ensure and give time management all the more importance. And in doing so, you must identify what are the important tasks on one hand and what are the urgent tasks on the other hand. More often, some people sacrifice important things to urgent things. Even in my office, sometimes there are several people trying to reach me to get their certain work done. But I don't let others manage my time. I identify, segment what are the urgent tasks, what are the important tasks. There are some tasks which are urgent but not important. There are some tasks which are not urgent but are important. So therefore, you need to understand and give prominence to important tasks in general, but sometimes you may have to do urgent tasks even though it does not rank in priority in your order of importance. Now, in doing that, managing, planning your work, managing time, dream or dreaming becomes a very, very important task. Firstly, every one of you must have a dream. Every one of you must have a dream. The dream can be official or that dream could be personal. Whatever it is, what is called a dream is something that you would want to achieve in life. Sometimes your dream could be to obtain a first class. Your dream could be to buy or own a motor vehicle at the age of 25. Your dream may be something else. But whatever it is, your dream, if you are to call a dream, it should be something not easily achievable by you. If your dream is to drink a glass of water, now it is no dream, because drinking a glass of water is so easy for you. But if you are a gymnastic player, you dream to bounce 10 feet above. You dream to become the best badminton player in the university. You dream to become the best in whatever the chosen area you dream. I remember one of my teachers saying during my school career, even if you are to be a coconut plucker, you must dream to be the best coconut plucker in our entire region. the number one. So you must have a dream, and the dream should be so high that it is not easily achievable. You should be able to achieve that dream with a lot of effort, and then it becomes a worthy dream. So you must, as an undergraduate, definitely have a dream for your life. Maybe you can have several dreams. Your dreams during, your age of 20, by 30, I will achieve this. By 40 years, I will achieve this. By 50 years, I will achieve this, and so on. So in working towards dream, focusing becomes a very, very important thing. Now, when you say focus, what I mean is laser focus. You know how a laser gun works out? It aims the target through a laser beam. So your dream should be laser focused, and your effort towards achieving that dream should. Now, when you say focus, it should be very, very clear. There should not be any ambiguity. If you have a vision, if you have a dream, focus is something very important. And not only focus, that focus should be consistent. So, on one hand, you must have a dream, then you must be focused towards working towards this dream, and this focus should be consistent. Now, you cannot be focusing on achieving your dream on Monday, but not do that on Tuesday, Wednesday. Do it on Friday when it comes to your mind. No. If you are focused on achieving your dream, it must be consistent. So, consistency can be achieved if you plan your work, focus on it, and in order to achieve consistent achievements, whatever the chosen field, you must be engaged in a lot of delegation, because it's obvious that you cannot do everything on your own. You need to delegate, maybe with your peers. Even you have to quickly study a particular subject which you are introduced today. You need to have the understanding and a project report done by tomorrow morning. You don't have the time to do it all by yourself. So what you do is you get together, obviously, and delegate to each one takes a section. They study the section, discuss the section, and then everybody is provisioned in that room with regard to all contents of that project or the study. So delegate becomes an integral part in success, and this delegation should be with responsibility, because you can't delegate without giving responsibility, and you cannot hold a person responsible without giving that person authority. So therefore, delegation, authority, and responsibility becomes an all-important task, and through that empowerment takes place, and empowerment makes it easier for you to perform, display your leadership capabilities very, very effectively. And all what I said alone is not sufficient if you are to execute a project successfully unless you monitor the achievement of it. Monitoring helps you to identify the shortfalls. Who are the people who are not contributing to the objective 100%? And monitoring helps you to refocus on your task if the direction you are traveling is not correct. Teamwork is also something very, very important. Now, after graduation, you may be engaged in different employment, business, or whatever it is. And whatever you go to do, whether it is working in an office, taking a leadership role, or a business of your own, teamwork is very, very important because no single person can be successful alone. No single person can be successful alone. Now, in our bank, we do have a team of 5,000. So the results which comes out are the work and the outcome of this entire 5,000. So as a leader, when we are successful, basically I get the credit at the highest level. At the same time, when we are unsuccessful, I have to take the responsibility as the leader. So the golden rule is in leadership, if you do well, you need to share the glory, share the joy, and make your whole team responsible. Show that to the world, to the evaluators, that it was your team who delivered this extraordinary result. But at the same time, if you become unsuccessful as a true leader, you need to take responsibility by yourself. You cannot say, my team failed, therefore this project failed, this task failed. You need to say, I as the leader takes the responsibility. Always when you speak, use the word we. We did this together, we are planning to do this project, so on. Do not say, I am planning to do this project on behalf of this team. We should let our team feel that the leader gives recognition to the team, respects them, and understand and also tell the outside world that the success of this project is teamwork. And something I feel that it is very, very important that you do as you go on is to increase your desire to learn. Learning obviously is not something which should be restricted to your school life or the university life. No. Learning never ends. I remember again that my father saying that the most richest people in the world are those who have good libraries at home and has read a lot of literature. The good old days, they were the books. At that time, the internet was not there. So, increasing your desire to learn is very, very important. Learning makes your knowledge widen and gives you some handy information. Sometimes what you learn today, even in the university, might not becomes handy immediately. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month or next year, but as long as you are engaged and you do something connected to your studies, your knowledge will become handy someday. Sometimes it will not, all the things what we learn may not be useful, but in learning, it is very difficult to identify or segment various things only and learn that particular section. We learn the whole course of studies, but what may be really useful can be a small part of it. But what really matters is the broad knowledge you acquire through a course of action as you go on. So, your desire to learn is something that should never stop as you go on. And in almost every industry, something common is, say, whether it is doctors or engineers or bankers, we review our knowledge periodically because what is applicable for today may not be applicable for tomorrow. So we say that experience is important, but experience alone cannot make you successful. Experience does not guarantee you success, even though it helps on many occasions. So therefore, if one is able to continue learning, not only the subject matters what you usually study, because new knowledge, very especially after the invention of the internet, there's a lot of renewals taking place every day, almost every moment. So therefore, to be uh, updated with regard to some of the latest things people have discovered in the world, to see how such things can be helpful to you is a very important thing that you must continue. Not only you, you must ensure to give that habit, pass on that habit to your colleagues, peers, and one day maybe children as well, because today knowledge is power. Today knowledge is power. So if somebody is well knowledgeable on that subject matter, the degree of confidence that he has, the degree of effort he or she has to fulfill, achieve the outcome becomes very easy. And in general, higher the knowledge, the larger the knowledge, ability to earn in your chosen profession becomes very big. So I remember a small story where one day there was a ship, a very large ship, and when it was in the mid seas, there was some small technical defect somewhere which stopped the ship moving forward. So it was one of the largest cruiser ships in the world, and at that time had almost 750 passengers and crew in it. So with all the very large, high investment, latest techniques, this ship suddenly stopped. So they immediately contacted their craftsmen, the technicians of who invented the ship, and flew somebody immediately. So within a few minutes, maybe half an hour or so, this particular engineer identified the issue and attended to that. And in general, what he did was he just tightened a single particular nut which had got loosened. And then he sent a bill. At that time, it was a thumping, massive bell. So the owners of the ship were really disturbed that this guy came into the scene just by tightening a single nut only, has presented to us a huge bill. So they asked this person, they challenged, how come you charged this amount of dollars when you did was only a 5 minutes job within a period of 30 minutes? And then he said, my dear friend, you could not sail forward and move this vessel for all this time. And if I had not spent that 5 minutes correction, you would still have been on sea, unable to move forward. And then he went and explained, even though I spent only 5 minutes to rectify over a 30 minutes time, I have studied, spent my time, and mastered this activity for 7 long years. So during these 7 years, I have sacrificed, spent a lot of money, and it is that knowledge which helped me to identify within 5 minutes the problem which was there. So the identification or the application of your knowledge might be during a smaller time, but the effort you put into learning does not become a waste at all. So it's very, very important to all of you that even though you complete your course of study, you need to continuously renew your knowledge if you want to be in the pinnacle or the top bracket of your industry. Now, listening, how does listening becomes important for a person? In communication, there are 3 basic steps that one should follow. Step number 1 is when somebody is talking, listen. Listen properly. Step number 2 is understand. And step number 3 is react or respond. Listen, understand, and react. Because if you don't listen properly, if you don't understand properly, you cannot give an effective solution or respond in the best manner how you should respond. Now, why in many cases I feel I have come across when we speak, the listeners don't listen properly. As a result, they don't understand. As a result of not understanding, they do something different to the expectation. So you respond incorrectly if you don't listen properly and understand properly. So therefore, listening becomes better. Listening is certainly an essential requirement in communication and in going through this life cycle journey. So when you go on like this with attending to all these activities, you will come across certainly what is called criticism. So my advice to you, the young students, are never resist to criticism. Never resist to criticism. I have had several occasions where I have had several types of criticism by several people. And even though criticism could become a damage to you, constructive criticism, criticism done in good faith, becomes very handy for you. Number one, to correct your shortcomings, and number two, to come out, to bounce back, probably bounce back to a lengthier, to a longer location than what you would have bounced back without criticism. So never reject criticism, take criticism as something very, very useful and handy, and this will definitely help you to move forward. So, I think I was requested to take a small break of 5 minutes. So, if it is okay, doctor, may we take that break of 5 minutes now and come back for the continuation of our program. So, to recap of what I was telling was to be very positive to criticism. See what you can take out of the criticism. Don't just throw away and resist to criticism, because that is something really essential in life, in your career, in your business as you go forward. So you very well know, when you are driving a vehicle, there is a dashboard in front of you. And what do you get on this dashboard? There is a fuel indicator, there is the RPM meter, and it can have several indicators. Now, why these indicators are there is to ensure that you, when you move forward in a particular direction at a particular speed, you have to watch these indicators to ensure whether the condition of your vehicle is good, and only if it is so that you will be able to reach your destination at the proper time and with care. So in life, when you are on this journey, you need to review the progress very regularly and timely. Because why I say that it is important is, if you don't monitor, you don't know whether you are really on schedule, behind schedule, or ahead of schedule. So therefore, monitoring the progress of yourself as well as your peers, colleagues, maybe sometimes your bosses as well, is something very, very important if you are to be successful in life. And something which I see very weak in most people, including some of those whom I interact with, is the ability to execute things. Now, decisions are taken, but these important decisions taken will be of no. Certain decisions are sometimes taken, sometimes not taken. So actually decision making is a very important thing because there is no purpose of having a meeting if you don't take decision, and it is even worse that if you do not execute your decisions, then the time you have spent for discussion, evaluation, all that would be certainly a waste. So therefore, execution is an integral part, and that you need to make it an art in life. You must have a love to execute a project, a task which has been entrusted to you, or maybe you have started on your own. So therefore, decision making and execution of the decision is very, very important for progress. So this is the area I touched, and there is no point in discussing, taking a lot of time if you don't make your decisions, and therefore improving on decision making is something really, really important. Now, when you are involved in several projects, you need to prioritize them. And when you prioritize, break the schedule of your tasks in order to achieve a project, you need to ensure what are important, what are urgent, and put this task into an order of priority. So why this list of priority is important is when you prioritize the valuable items in your list which you need to execute over volume, you don't get misled, and you will obviously attend to the important things first rather than volume based urgent matters. Another thing what I feel important in managing some task or a project or a business is when you have delegated work task to several people. As a leader or a boss or a manager, it is very important that you don't micromanage them, because if you try to interfere, if one tries to interfere with all the little things in a task, if I get engaged in micromanaging my staff, then what would naturally happen is that I will fail in my core duties as the MD. Now, I joined this bank as a junior executive, and I have been coming up or climbing the ladder over the last 40 years. Now, another thing which some people forget or fail is they don't stop some of the work which should be stopped by oneself. So if I give an example, I was once an assistant general manager in the bank, and then I was a deputy general manager in the bank, and subsequently I was a senior deputy general manager, the chief operating officer, and so on. So sometimes what the work I had to do as AGM, I have to stop that when I become a DGM. And the work what I used to do as the DGM, I have to stop when I become a senior DGM. But some of us forget or are not conscious to stop doing some things while starting new things. So we must remember not to do what you were doing in your previous role when you take up important and responsible tasks. Now, this what you see on the screen are three very most important things that you know you should understand when you are either managing a business of your own or you are in employment or whatever the task you are engaged. Very especially with regard to a business, every business needs to be grown in terms of turnover, in terms of volume, in terms of the customer number of customers, in terms of the size of the balance sheet. Every business needs to be grown. If we are a company of a turnover of 100 billion, we would want to make 125 billion next year, maybe 150 billion in the following year. So therefore, growth is something which is necessarily required to upgrade a business. And in doing so, you need to have a balance between the cost in growing certain businesses and the risks involved in growing certain businesses. So therefore, these three areas are three areas which should be managed. Sometimes when you try to grow too fast, too big, the cost you have to incur may be very high. And sometimes when you try to grow very fast, the risks involved may be high. Sometimes when you do not grow also, the risks are high because the business may go underwater, the business may fail, the business may not achieve any profits. So therefore, whether the business grow or the business shrink, there is an element of risk involved. So you need to assess the risk into whatever the area that you would be attached. You need to understand the costs of growing or the cost of not growing. So by managing these three areas, you need to adjust these knobs differently in order to achieve the optimum level, the optimum direction, optimum speed that you should be moving on. Because if you don't grow also, there is a cost. Very especially in our bank, we do the business, we are in the financial services. So the basic banking is accepting deposits and giving loans. In doing so, we have to incur a cost paid to the depositors for their deposits as interest payable, and we recover interest from customers who obtain loans. So therefore, there is a cost to the funds we hold, which are acquired in the form of deposits or debentures. So therefore, if we do not lend, we hold on to this money instead of investing in alternative ways. The cost becomes very high, and that itself becomes very detrimental and creates risk on the survival of the business. So therefore, there is no exact formula in juggling these three. Sometimes you may have to lower the growth, increase the growth, lower the cost, higher the cost. Sometimes if you don't incur cost, if you manage control cost, that becomes a detrimental effect for growth. And if you don't grow at the rate or faster than your competitors will certainly move up faster than and better than you. So therefore, that is why I said there is no standard formula to balancing the growth, cost and risk. But you have to be sensible enough, understand and manage these three according to the most appropriate manner. Now, what is stress? Most often, something what I hear very much, as your introducer said, I am involved in scouting as well to some extent, even though I stepped down from the National Training Commissioner about almost a year ago due to taking more responsible activities in the bank. So I still continue to be engaged and interact with boys and girls who are scouts, students, and also students of our entire 5,000 workforce in the bank. So many of the students, some of our staff complain always, even for the fun of it, how is work? Very stressful. When you go home, you are like, exhausted, and you say that you are very stressful. Now, what is stress really? How would one define stress? To me, stress is the difference between the expectation and the reality. Say you have a task, you have your final examination on the 31st of March this year. You have a syllabus which you are expected to study. So you may be expected to finish your syllabus 1 month, 2 months or so on before the exam, leaving you sufficient time to revise. So your target is to be knowledgeable and answer the question paper. So if you are unable to complete your syllabus and also revise and be sufficiently ready to face the exam, you become very stressful. On the other hand, there is another party who has completed the syllabus, studying, revising 2 months before the exam. And what that person now does is further revising, further reviewing, going through the notes, going through the past papers, discussing with the friends, talking to other universities and sharing knowledge, going into the internet and doing papers of similar examination. Now, what is the stress level between the second party and the first party whom I said? First party is highly stressful, whereas the second party, there is no stress at all. So the difference is the first party has not been able to complete the expectation. The second party has completed the expectation. Both have not sat for the exam, but the second party is fully ready, whereas the first party is not ready as still. So when this gap between the expectation and where you are really, the more it widens, the stress increases or moves up. So how do you manage stress? How do one manage stress? We see often people even committing suicide due to high stress situation. Well, later on, it's reported as depression also. Sometimes depression may develop as a result of highly stressful activities. So, how do you manage stress? Two ways. One is you need to lower your expectation. Two is to increase the actual status of reality. So when you narrow this gap and moment these two touches each other, you have no stress. So therefore, how at your level, how you can get rid of stress? Obviously, if I take an example of sitting your final examination, you have no choice to reduce the syllabus or postpone the exam. You have to meet and set the paper at the appropriate time. So one end of the expectation is fixed. So where in this particular type, this particular example, where you could manage is by improving the reality, planning the work, working the plan, time management, delegation, dividing your tasks, involving discussions with the friends, and acquiring knowledge through group discussions, and so on. So strategically, you need to find ways and means of managing this stress. And if you do that, you has no stress. This is how I manage stress. Now, to me, I feel I'm not stressful in life today. Although I manage the bank 5,000 people, now today, tomorrow, and day after, I'm doing training for 150 of our senior executives from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Today, tomorrow, and day after. So even right now, this program is going on at our auditorium, and I got myself excused, whereas I got somebody else to lecture there during this time. Now, even though I handled these 3 days of extraordinary work of coaching, guiding our senior team of 450 people in 3 days, I cannot say that, and there is nobody else to do the work, to sign the deeds, to do the projects which I should do as MD over these 3 days. So I should find different ways how to do that. So that because I have found different ways to do it, different thinking, the fact that I'm doing these 3 additional tasks which are really not mandatorily to be done by MD, I don't raise my stress level. So that is called managing stress, and you have to be very concerned in how to manage stress, because if you do not manage stress, stress will start managing you, and then it is so much the difficult to overcome that situation, and therefore you must not let stress manage you, but you take control to manage stress so that you do a decent job in your chosen uh, profession. And in order to do so, you need to become a creative leader. Knowledge, education, as I told you, is very, very important. And you may have seen all the students who have gone through the KDU, who have learned from the same lecturers, same curriculum, when they pass out, thereafter they go into different levels in life. And why is that? The same batch of people learn the same things, go into different levels once they move out, is because of the extraordinary skill they possess, extraordinary skill they should possess in order to be a creative leader. You need to be creating, because what is applicable for today would not be applicable for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a different day to today, and day after tomorrow will be even different to tomorrow. So innovation, innovative ability, and creativity are things that a leader should obviously possess. And whatever you do, you need to lead with confidence. And when you lead with confidence, your peers, your subordinates, they get the confidence that we are following a role of our leader who has a proper direction, who does this job with confidence. And in doing so, what is most important is to maintain simplicity. If there are 3 ways, 5 ways of doing a thing, select the most simple and the most convenient way. By that, if you practice, you will definitely be a productive student of KDU who will be worthy of being followed by the others. And in doing so, it is very, very important to interact with the team, with your colleagues, and team interaction is very, very important. So, enhancing the business focus, demonstrating respect to others are very, very important areas as you go along in life. If you are to expect others to respect you, you need to respect others. You need to respect to the thoughts of the others. Without understanding that you are the don, what you say only is correct, you need to give a good hearing to your peers, to your subordinates, and to your bosses. I told you the skill of communication is based on listening, understanding, and reacting. So, demonstrating respect to others gives you the opportunity to earn respect from the others. And very especially when you are an innovative, creative leader, you try to change things. There's a lot of resistance naturally which comes from some of your team. So you as a leader should be courageous to battle resistance. And sometimes when you work, you have a team of 100. All team 100 will may not join you. Maybe 95% will understand you and join. So pull this 95 and go forward. Leave those who don't want to fall in line with you. First, talk to them, try, but if they still don't want, leave them behind and you move forward with the rest of the people. And later on, those who are left behind will feel, why didn't I join with these people and move on? And they will suffer for life. So some things may need to be changed due to the geographical boundaries. Maybe you have a few, I was told by doctor, who are students from other neighboring countries. Some of the things what I said may have to be adjusted to suit the geographical boundaries, to suit the countries where you come from. And if you do all this, you will be successful in your chosen field. So I have very few takeaways for you. We have 4 minutes more. I have a very limited takeaways from what I told you over the last few minutes. And you remember I said, you if you are to achieve something extraordinary in life, in your chosen profession, you must have a dream. Number one, you must dream. And when you go home, maybe after your studies in the university, maybe after you start working somewhere, you must just, in a relaxed format, every day in the evening after a wash, maybe night before you go to sleep, have minimum 15 to 20 minutes of quiet time. And that is called unwinding. Throughout the day, like a motor, you keep on working, working, working. So that is the time you unwind yourself and you temporarily close your system and meditate, and that will give you the energy to plan your following day and the following week or so on. So dreaming is very, very important, and working to achieve the dream is called focusly. I said that focus should be laser focused, and that focus and action should be consistent. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If your dream is to study for 2 hours after university, that 2 hours should be studied on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Again on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now that is called consistency. It is through the achievement of these 3 steps, if you analyze any great achiever in the world, maybe a sportsman, maybe a politician, or maybe somebody, a very successful businessman, they all have had a dream one day. They have all worked focusedly towards a dream, and they have been consistent in trying to reach their dream. And that is why they have become successful in life. So, my dear friends, we have come to the end of our session. And if you have any clarifications, I don't mind taking a few minutes if you have anything. And even though if you even want to get in touch with me for any further assistance in the future, I'm always available. You can, doctor has my numbers, and if you inquire from any person, even in my website, nandafernando.com, details are there and you can reach me. And I'm very happy once again, doctor, and all of you for having given me the opportunity to interact with you. And I wish that you reach all success in your career, and you are able to do well in your studies and reach greater heights in your career and your life.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the students of the short course on cultural linkages towards an Asian ideology. First, I would like to thank our lecturer, Mr. Nanda Fernando, for sharing his time and knowledge with us and for delivering today's lecture amidst his busy schedule. Sir, we are blessed to have you contribute to this cause. Next, I wish to thank Dr. Hemanta Premaratna and other staff of ADU who have brought these lectures together. Thank you. Last but not least, I thank all participants from our university for joining us today. Your participation has made this lecture a successful event, and I believe it has provided you with an insight into gender and community development in Asia. To conclude, let me once more express my gratitude to Mr. Nanda Fernando for accepting our invitation and delivering today's lecture. Sir, it is an honor to have you with us, and your time and efforts are deeply appreciated.